What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be making a video called Rewriting the DCEU. The DCEU is the DC Extended Universe, which is like the MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's simply that it's for DC instead of Marvel. If you don't know what either of those mean, it's simply the movies connected in their own universe. The movies in the DCEU are Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, Shazam, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. Those are, and soon the Joker film, technically. But those are the only movies that are currently out in this present time. So if you are watching this after then what I just said would be incorrect. Today I'm going to be taking the movies and I'm going to be rewriting them. The reason I'm doing this is Justice League hit an all-time low for DC's movies, hitting 500 million. And you might be thinking, 500 million, that's a lot. Not for a blockbuster, and especially not for a movie with the most popular superheroes the world's ever had. For example, every other movie in the DCEU hit at least 800 mil in the box office, so that should show you how bad it is for Justice League. I'm going to explain why Justice League was a failure. It is that they only had 2 films building up to Justice League. They tried to rush into the Marvel big time money with a team-up movie too early, and it was a major failure, seeming as which they only hit 500 mil at the box office. What they should have done is fleshed out the characters, and today that is what I'll be doing. I will be rewriting it to where it should, the way I think it should have been, or a way that it could have succeeded. Man of Steel will still be the starting launching point. The rules for this video will be that I am not changing the casting of any of the actors, and that is the rule. I'm not going to be changing actors or costumes, simply rewriting the stories themselves. The first movie will still be Man of Steel. It is a good launching point. I'm only going to make 2 changes. One, Superman does not get the suit yet because technically he isn't Superman. And 2, he does not kill General Zod at the end. They lock him up and put him in a prison. That is the only real changes I have for that. Movie number 2 will be Wonder Woman. I'm going to keep that exactly the same way that it was shot. I am not going to make a single change to that. I think it was one of the best movies that they've made in the DCEU, besides Aquaman and Shazam. Number 3 will be a Deathstroke movie. Deathstroke will be a bit different. If you've noticed, all 3 of these movies have took place in different times. The Superman, present day. Wonder Woman takes place 1,000 years ago or so. No, takes place, I believe, in World War I. And Deathstroke will take place about around the 80s. And that should be a pretty good launching point for it at the beginning. It'll start off with a 16-year-old Deathstroke, or Slade Wilson before he is Deathstroke, leaving to go join the army. If you don't know, I am going to be writing this movie as if it is almost exactly comic book origin. I'm gonna make as few changes as possible to the actual origin. The main thing about this movie is it needs to have an R rating, seeming as if that is the way that a Deathstroke movie should be made. If you've read any of his more popular comics, you know that he is very brutal and very gore heavy. this movie is going to take place over many years, maybe just a couple small time jumps. Starts off with him joining the army. You see him meet his wife, get married, have his first son. Then he enlists in a experiment. The experiment that gives him his powers, that makes him Deathstroke. After this experiment, he is extremely aggressive and violent, and they have to keep him under sedatives. They have to keep him sedated, and the bad thing about that is he has the bad thing about that is his wife is having a second kid while he is under restraint by the government. Then his lifelong best friend, Billy Wintergreen, is sent on a suicide mission, and Slade Wilson has to escape the government facility to go rescue him. All of this has been extremely comic book accurate. From what I just said, I believe that is his exact comic book origin. But I'm going to make a couple changes on when he's going to save his friend. He gets a very, very similar version to his Deathstroke uniform. Maybe they'll give him like a codename Terminator or something like that. If you wonder why I say codename Terminator, if you don't know, Deathstroke's original name was Terminator in the comics, but they later changed it due to the Terminator movie that came out in the 80s, and they wanted to avoid confusion with the characters. So they changed it to Deathstroke. Now, on this mission to save Billy Wintergreen, he finds out that Billy Wintergreen is dead and is extremely angry when he gets to the place to save him. But then he figures out that he actually isn't dead, but he has turned his back on the government, which ends up in a major fight scene where he eventually kills his friend Billy Wintergreen, and when he returns, the government kicks him out of the army, and this only pushes him forward in the direction of Deathstroke, where he is now just a gun for hire. He is now against the army, against the government, because they've turned his back on him and made him a monster, and he is no longer allowed to see his children, which is one of his main new sources of anger. That is going to be a pretty decent launching point for the DCEU. None of the characters have interacted yet in this version. I will make a part 2 if anybody likes this video. This video is a pretty short video so far. Only about 9 minutes, I'm assuming, maybe. So if you like this video, like it. If you don't, dislike it, because that's also engagement, which is a good thing. So yeah, that should be all. Subscribe, hit the notification, comment something else you want me to do. Tell me if you want me to make a part 2 to this. Okay, peace.